Financial wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Fronti.
Well, we always say that the second half is better than the first half, just like the Super Bowl, but I don't know if we can say that. That was good stuff from Myles McNamara with Comfort Keepers in-home care. All of us, I don't care if it's your family, it's somebody else you know that's dealing with. I know all of us are dealing with our, our aging population. It's the way it is, and I'm sorry, none of us are getting any younger. In fact, you just got older as I was talking.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. So we all have to deal with this.
You were looking in the crystal ball for that, weren't you?
Yeah, anyway, I know I didn't need it. Yeah. So, what's really nice is we have Myles McNamara. He's a good friend of ours, and he's been on our show many times, but he's just a good dude. And he really cares about his job. He's passionate about his job. His team is passionate about his job. And that's what you want when you're talking about your loved ones. I mean, you're talking your parents. You owe it to them. And I'm not trying to guilt you into it. It's just a fact. You owe it to them to give them the right care. So one of the things I wanted Myles to stick around for another segment is to talk a little bit about, because we deal with our industry, in the mortgage industry, with those that are licensed and educated and handling the biggest debt and asset of your life, and how that is handled is imperative to your future. And there's a lot of our industry that don't have the right education, they don't have the right care, and they just basically give you an interest rate. And we hate that. And Myles, you deal with that more than we do, because you deal with people that are doing in-home care that are not even licensed or trained. Am I right?
Not only that, but as we've talked about before, when people hire someone privately, and it is costly to do home care the right way, but you can't be penny wise and pound foolish. Because again, as we mentioned before, not having home insurance is okay until you have a fire. Right. Not having car insurance is okay until you have an accident. What's the same with home care?
Well, even another one, you could get it. What if it's wrong? Same thing. You can get in home care, but if it's wrong,
right?
Because we have the good insurance, we know that people skimp on their insurance, and then their house does burn down, and they find out they can't rebuild the whole thing.
Right, and I was going to segue into that, the private hire versus hiring an agency that may not have been licensed properly. We call them HCOs, home care organizations. Very easy to check if a home care company's been licensed properly. Ask them if they have a home care organization or an HCO number. That means all the caregivers are W-2. They have workers' compensation. They've been fingerprinted through the Department of Justice with the proper background checks. They've got liability insurance. You still have companies out there who are dodging the man, and they're not getting licensed, and they're still 1099ing their employees. And again, because it's such a cost-sensitive service, they may undermine the properly operated home care companies by a few bucks an hour, but you are dealing with a company that is operating illegally.
Well, wow, that sounds exactly like our industry 8-10 years ago. Exact same thing when we were all forced to go W-2. Remember that?
Right.
There was a time when we were all forced to go W-2. Everybody had to definitely clean up their act. We were not allowed to go 1099 anymore. And sure enough, there was companies that operated under the radar for years.
Yeah.
For years. And yeah, obviously those had better rates, but they just weren't doing things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing that you brought to attention during the break is something that none of us think about. It's the same thing when you hire somebody to work around your house, that there's liability to. You get an unlicensed contractor of some sort to paint your home or do something. They fall off the roof and they can sue you. I would hate to have the situation, and let's just say I don't want to be Betty White.
Right. and we were talking about it at the break. And
everybody knows Betty White, so this is a good story.
If they hadn't heard about it, Betty White, of course, is Betty White, and she had a privately paid domestic worker in her home and had to sever that relationship after like 15, 20 years. Well, that lady circled back with attorney in tow and sued Betty White for back wages, overtime violation, meal breaks, lunches, the whole 9 yards, just like Betty White was a small business, which is in fact what you become when you hire somebody in your home. You have to do things as though you were a small business. You have to W-2 that person. A lot of people think, oh, they're independent contractors, and I don't want to get into it here, but there's a whole litmus test of what qualifies as a 1099 employee versus a W-2. Caregiving is not one of them. Basically, the bottom line is if you tell someone when to show up, when to leave, and what to do while they're there, they're not an independent contractor.
Well, the other thing I like about, Comfort Keeper and home care and your passion and your guys' desire to do things right is when you have accountability for your license, for your company, for your growth, everything else, just like we have accountability here at Skyline Homes, complete accountability, especially in this town.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows everybody. And if you hire somebody, how do you know they're actually really taking care of your parents the way they should, or your grandparents? Because if they aren't, it's too late when you find out.
Right. And you've got to have the accountability on the level of, I mean, we never, because it would be lying, we never promised anybody that things will always go 100% smooth. We pride ourselves when there is a bump in the road, handling it the right way.
Boy, you just
that
hit
hits
me
home
and
for
Gino.
us.
Yeah, we just smiled.
Because every company is that way, right? Look, the reality is you're dealing with a company. What makes a great company is not when problems arise, it's how they deal with those problems. And Don and I call it turning negatives into a positive. We do it all the time. Sometimes things go awry. Sometimes things are inside of our control. Sometimes things are outside of our control. In our business, a lot of times property becomes the issue that's outside of our control. We could pre-qualify a buyer till we turn blue in the face, but then they go out and find a property, and who knows? They could find anything in that property that could make it unlendable.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we encounter that just come up. Right. We can't avoid
Well, that's
it.
when you need a pro.
You do.
That makes the difference. If they're not trained properly, when you need them most, and that's really what you're paying them for, and they're not properly trained, that's when you're going to go, I wish I would have had somebody like Comfort Keepers
And,
in home
someone
care.
who's willing to take the responsibility. Sometimes we have to take the bullet, even though, like you say, we can't control all the factors, but we're the company you entrusted with the care. So we'll take the bullet, we'll handle it, we'll make sure it's done properly.
So I hate to oversimplify this, right? But I'm gonna use it as kind of an analogy as well because I like analogies.
He's an analogy boy.
I am. So look, I finally hired a property management company. Just maybe about a year ago.
This is a great analogy, I have to say, because I did the same.
And I don't know if it was better for me or better for Don, but I
don't know. I think it was a win-win.
But the reality is that I hired a property management after self-managing for 12 years. It's one of the best things I've ever done.
Yep.
It's relieved stress at home. It's relieved things I had to take care of at work. I now have a point person. Like I said, not everything always works correctly, but I now have a point person that I can delegate to, and I say, hey, guys, please take care of it. I don't want to deal with it. And they consult with me, and they say, hey, how would you like us to deal with this? I say, I would deal with it like this. Do you have any other ideas? Well, we've done this in the past. Okay, let's do that instead. And it's been tremendous. And I could assume
I just talked to mine this morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you. I have not heard once from my tenant.
And so you're no longer a property manager, you're a property owner.
That's right.
And that's what we tell our family members. You don't have to be the caregiver. You can be the daughter or the son. Let
Amazing.
us be the caregiver.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. I can't tell you how that's changed
That's
my
a
life.
great analogy.
So I think if we could do the same with our elders, it would be fantastic.
All right,
Absolutely.
let's wrap this. And how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way? You have great websites, so a lot of you should check this out, and especially this Take Our Home Care Survey. When you read it, you're going to go, oh, I got to pay attention to that. You owe it to your parents or your grandparents to check that out.
Absolutely. So you can get that at comfortkeepers.com. You can get more essentially focused stuff on seniorcaresantaclarita.com. We have a lot of YouTube videos for educational
Really good
purposes.
stuff, by the way. You took the time and effort to put together. That's a lot of effort. Most don't do that.
And also, Aging with Power is the show I do here on KHTS as well. So, go to the hometownstation.com. You can kind of breeze through all the podcasts and any of our past topics that jump out at you and would benefit you or your family. Fire up that podcast. And again, it's Aging with Power. And there's a lot of good information on there, and we always talk about it. Aging is not a disease, it's a journey. So do it with power.
Nice.
All right, again, Myles McNamara with Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Great information as always, buddy. A lot of fun. And you make me feel better because I'm glad we're sharing this with a lot of you out there. Because there's no way that you aren't dealing with it or somebody you know is going to deal with it. If not, you're going to. So be proactive. Talk to some pros. Be prepared and take care of your loved ones the way they should be taken care of, and take the burden off of you, because that's what your analogy was so perfect, Gino, is take the burden off of you and help them. Again, reach out to Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Thanks again, Myles.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks.
All right, good to see you,
have you.
buddy. All right, stay tuned. We got another segment. We're going to introduce Monica Randall and tell you what's really happening in the economy and the real estate market today. Not what you see in the media. They're spinning things as they always do.
Especially now.
Yes. We'll be right back. Don't go away.